Hey, what's up, YouTube? Alright, before I jump into this vid, I want to give y'all a quick piece of advice. It's important for the nature of this video. And this advice is, it should be the number one thing that everyone who's watching and listening to this is focused on. And the advice is to live your life as much as possible. Live it passionately, fully, no regrets. And don't let the fear get to you. If you're letting anxiety and fear and worries dictate your future and your present, you're in a bad place. And we could all learn a lesson from Miss Milky the Clown. I'll try and throw the link in the description if I can. I guess it was probably about a month ago now or so. She went on a trip to Africa, and she went on this amazing safari and saw all these animals, and she posted a bunch of pictures. I don't know if she's going to be posting more. But the point is, in the middle of all this crazy turmoil that the world is going through, she went on this just incredible trip, and she had this incredible experience. And she came back, and guess what? The world didn't blow up. Things were still moving along as they were, and that's it. Okay, so the number one threat that people should be thinking about and prepping for: bioattack. Now, we're not talking about a little virus that gets out and gives everybody stomach cramps and bad gas. We're talking about a weaponized or designer virus that's going to have a high fatality rate. Something like smallpox or bubonic plague, or something hardcore like that. And the reason why this is number one, well, actually I forgot one of the main points, is that it as we just said, we're assuming that it's going to have a high fatality rate. And basically you catch it and there's a good chance you're going to die. So that puts it up there as a major threat. But the bottom line with a bioattack is that there's little or no defense for it. And you see all these prepper channels where people have gas masks and hazmat suits and all that stuff, but you can't use that gear for your daily routine. And the reality is, all of that stuff is really only to vacate an area that has been hit with a bio or chemical attack. But as far as like, okay, look, bubonic plague has been released and half the country is catching it, we have to try and survive it, that gear and that stuff isn't really gonna cut it for you. The other reason why the bioattack's number one is because it most likely wouldn't be localized. Whether if it's like some sort of attack, whether it hit a bunch of points at once, or if it hit one main point, like let's say New York's JFK, and then in 2 minutes it's all over the freaking world, as we saw with H1N1. Now, the fact that it's not localized leads this bioattack into a bunch of other things that you might have on your disaster or what you're prepping for list. So, in effect, a bioattack could spin off into a whole bunch of other issues. And the last point that I want to point out is that the decontamination in a bioattack, or in a plague or virus going around, epidemic type environment, would be really complex, and pretty much I have never seen anybody discuss that in any detail at all. And again, for a long-term situation, that's going to be your critical point, being able to decontaminate yourself every time you go and are possibly exposed to whatever the bioattack is. So that brings us to solutions for the bioattack, and I see it as there's really only two. The first is community, and that goes for a lot of the things that we're prepping for, and it's also probably the most overlooked and underdealt with. I mean, think about it. If there's a serious bioattack and people are getting sick, and if you're in your community and you know how to quarantine and guidelines and all this stuff, but nobody else is paying attention to it, you could see how quickly you'd get pretty screwed. And then the second thing that I see is having the ability to not leave your house for 6 months. As far as I'm concerned, if you're able to literally lock your door and not leave your house for 6 months, then you're going to be in a really good position to fight any kind of bioattack. And of course, you shoot for 6 months as a benchmark, and if it does in fact happen and you've only are able to do it for 2 months or 3 months, well, you're going to be way better off than the person who can only do it for 48 hours. So that's my advice for dealing with a bioattack, is really work on your community, try to get people aware, try and get guidelines and know what's going on, and prep as if you don't have to leave your house for 6 months. All right, number 2, economic collapse. Now, unlike the first one and the bioattack, if that happens, if you catch it, there's a good chance you're going to die. If you catch the economic collapse, you're probably not going to die, at least not right away. Maybe down the road a bit, but it'll depend on how things play out for you. And we always have the ability to rely on friends and family regarding an economic collapse, so it's not as dire as the bioattack, and that's why it's number 2. It is number 2 because I see it as the most likely thing to come up that we're facing for everyone. Now, you probably have a good job. You might have a high-paying job, a really secure job. You might have a ton of money in the bank, or you might be sitting on a boatload of gold or silver. And the fact of the matter is, economic collapse could still very well be a situation and a threat for you. Nobody in today's society gets all their stuff on their own. Nobody's really self-sustainable. People aren't growing all the food that they eat in their garden. They're not spinning the fabric for their own clothes. You know what I'm saying? We work, we get money, and then we sustain ourselves. So an economic collapse could come about by many different ways, and it would basically be a disruption to that. All of a sudden, the means of you being able to sustain yourself suddenly stop. All right, so that's the economic collapse that I'm talking about. So for example, for me, I've actually been in this a little bit because I've been out of work for quite a while, and for me, I'm facing that economic collapse. That's that stop in the sustainability from the inflow of the money. But like I said, if you have a boatload of money in the bank, well, what if we get hyperinflation and all of a sudden you wake up in the morning and that's worth a loaf of bread? So this is definitely something people got to think about and consider. And I didn't, like I said, I want to keep the vid short at this point. I didn't really go into solutions on the second and the third thing. Number 3, the police state. That's right. And again, what do I write in here? A direct confrontation with the police state risks your life, freedom, and possessions. So similar to number 2, if you run into the police state as number 3 on our threat list, you're most likely not going to lose your life right off the bat. Although we've all seen all the YouTube videos of the police gone hog wild, shooting people handcuffed on the floor and this kind of stuff. But the bottom line is that the police state is here, and again, we all see every day the stories, and it's just insane. I'm going to tell you guys about it. And the reason why this is number 3 is, again, like number 2, for the high likelihood. So to me, the odds are you're going to be in your car and you're going to be pulled over by some cop who wants to take your DNA or scan your irises and database you, or somebody's going to come to your door, the census, let's say, oh, but now the census wants to give you vaccinations, and if you resist, you're going to go to jail. See what I'm saying? This is the police state. And I mean, if you don't really think it's here, well, I don't click off now because I don't know what you're smoking. Send me a sample. But anyway, yeah, the police state, and this is number 3 on the list. As far as how to deal with it, hey, I'm open to ideas. I don't really know. Stay inside, never go out. No, I don't know. Seriously, just try and be a positive force and change the system as much as we can, I guess. Try and get good people at the local level. And, I'm just going to end this by saying, as far as number 3, oh no, that's it, I'll probably say something else. The police state issue, the threat, number 3 threat, is really not as critical if you're one of these guys or one of these guys. One of the other major things, well, there's a big long list. But again, I'm trying to keep this vid short, so I'm not going into everything as much as I did in the other version. Basically, if people shoot off nukes, if there's any kind of nuke attack in the country, yeah, I mean, it would be devastating. It would have a lot of implications. It would affect a lot of stuff. But the bottom line is, a nuclear attack is going to be localized for the most part. Now, I'm oversimplifying things a bit. But for instance, if we woke up tomorrow and Detroit was nuked, right? is it really going to affect the rest of the country? I mean, what comes out of Detroit? Sorry, Demcad, but you see what I'm saying, folks? And the thing with the EMP is also another really important one. But the way that I look at the EMP is the EMP is going to take out our electricity, right? And I agree with the stats of that say it would be a really high fatality rate if it happened. But the bottom line is that the EMP would basically put everybody on the same playing field, and everybody would have a shot. You know, it's not like the EMP would be like a bullet to your head and kill you on the floor. It would be like, okay, you have no electricity, so you have to rely on your ingenuity and your creativity and your preps, and you have to survive. And also, you got to remember the fact that mankind was around a long time before electricity, so you know we could adapt. And I'm not saying it wouldn't be devastating. I'm just saying it would be survivable. So to me, these other three are more important. And as far as like any other ELE stuff, I don't even get into that because that's just nonsense. If the planet's gonna blow up because some other planet hits it, and we're gonna be like the 8-ball in the corner pocket, then ain't nothing to do about it. But you know, keep having fun. See the beginning of this vid. Later, YouTube.